From the sacred temples of Mesopotamia to the gates of hell itself, dogs have shaped the fate of empires and judged the souls of the dead. Some healed warriors with their saliva. Others decided who lived and who died. And one mythical beast guarded the underworld for all eternity. These are the 5 most legendary dogs of war. Stories so incredible they'll change everything you thought you knew about man's best friend. Prepare yourself for healers, judges, warriors, giants, and monsters. This is their complete story. Our journey begins not on a battlefield, but in the sacred temples of ancient Mesopotamia, where the first legendary dogs possessed a power that defied death itself. Meet the healing hounds of Gula. Dogs performed surgery in ancient Babylon, and it saved lives. I know that sounds completely insane, but 4,000 years ago, when you were dying from infected wounds, there was one goddess who could save you. Her name was Gula, and her divine surgeons were packs of sacred dogs who would lick your open wounds clean. This should have killed every patient. Instead, it cured them. And modern science has finally figured out why this impossible treatment actually worked. But first, you need to understand the nightmare these people lived in. Ancient Mesopotamia wasn't just dangerous, it was locked in an eternal war against invisible enemies that made every day a fight for survival. These weren't human armies, they were demonic plagues with names that still send chills down archaeologists' spines. Meet Lamashtu, the child-killing demon who murdered newborns in their sleep. Pazuzu, the fever-bringer who could drop you dead with a single breath. Here's what will blow your mind. 47 different plague demons were catalogued in Mesopotamian texts. 47, each one designed to torture humanity in a specific way. To these people, disease wasn't biology, it was warfare. When you got sick, it meant the gods had abandoned you to these creatures of chaos. And your chances of survival? Let me put this in perspective. A simple cut had a 30% chance of killing you. Childbirth? Russian roulette, with worse odds. But here's where it gets interesting. While everyone else was surrendering to the demons, one goddess was preparing to flip the entire game.
Forget everything you think you know about ancient medicine. Gula wasn't sitting around accepting offerings and ignoring prayers. She was building the ancient world's most revolutionary medical empire. Her headquarters? A massive 200-room temple complex at Isin that made modern hospitals look primitive. Her staff? Hundreds of trained priest-doctors who studied healing arts for decades. But here's what will make your jaw drop. While other cultures were sacrificing animals to their gods, Gula did something that seemed absolutely insane. She turned dogs into living medical equipment. The Mesopotamians called her Bao, the dog mother. And I'm not talking about a few temple pets wandering around. Archaeological evidence shows over 300 dog skeletons buried with full ceremonial honors at her temples. These were elite medical professionals with 4 legs and supernatural healing powers. But wait, it gets crazier. These dogs weren't random strays. They were specifically bred for medical work, trained from puppies, and treated like divine royalty. While other civilizations were figuring out basic agriculture, Gula's cult was running the world's first veterinary medical school. Now comes the moment that will blow your mind. And this isn't legend, this is documented history. Picture this scene that played out thousands of times. A desperate farmer from Uruk staggers into Gula's temple at Isin. His right arm is black with infection from a farming accident. He's been walking for 12 days, spending his family's entire life savings on this final gamble. The fever is cooking his brain. This is literally his last shot before death. The priests examine him and make a decision that would make modern doctors lose their minds. They don't pull out ceremonial knives or burning herbs. Instead, They lead him to a sacred chamber and open a gate. Out comes a pack of temple dogs. Here's the moment of total insanity. The patient, following centuries of tradition, lies down on a stone altar, and he lets these dogs, these divine surgeons, systematically lick his infected wounds completely clean. I know what you're thinking. This should have given him rabies, sepsis, and 20 other infections. This should have killed him in hours. But here's the impossible part. More often than not, he walked out completely cured within days.
So how did this medically impossible treatment actually work? Modern science spent decades figuring this out, and the answer will make you respect our ancestors in a completely new way. But here's what's truly mind-blowing. Gula's cult wasn't just stumbling around with lucky guesses, they were ruthlessly scientific in ways that would make modern researchers jealous. Dog saliva isn't just spit, it's a biological weapon against bacteria. We're talking lysozyme, lactoferrin, and immunoglobulin A. These are natural antibiotics so powerful that we're still studying them today. But here's where Gula's people were pure genius. They discovered that different dogs produced different healing compounds. Archaeological analysis shows they were breeding specialized medical dogs for specific types of wounds. Some for infected cuts, others for burns, others for skin diseases. These weren't just dogs, they were living, breathing antibiotic factories with 4,000 years of selective breeding behind them. But the real masterstroke wasn't biological, it was psychological. While the dog's saliva was literally fighting infection at the cellular level, something even more powerful was happening in the patient's mind. Think about it. Instead of feeling helpless against invisible demons, patients were receiving tangible, physical intervention from divine emissaries. The placebo effect wasn't just helping, it was going absolutely nuclear. Modern studies show that hope and faith can literally rewire your immune system. Gula figured this out 2,000 years before we did. But this was never just about healing individual patients. Gula was waging total war against the entire pantheon of death and disease, and she was winning. Every person her dog saved was a soul stolen directly from Ereshkigal, goddess of the Underworld. Every infection cured was a victory against Lamashtu's child-killing rampage. Every fever broken was basically giving the middle finger to Pazuzu himself. The numbers are staggering. For over 1,200 years, Gula's temple network operated across 23 major cities. Her dogs saved hundreds of thousands of lives using a treatment so advanced that we're only now understanding why it worked. She didn't just build hospitals, she built an ancient medical empire that lasted longer than the Roman Empire.
Today we have antibiotics, surgery, and modern medicine. But we've also lost something powerful, the understanding that healing involves both body and spirit, science and faith. Gula mastered this 4,000 years before we figured it out. So the next time someone tells you ancient people were primitive, remember the dog mother of Babylon.
Would you trust a dog's saliva to heal your wounds? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Healing was not the only sacred power dogs possessed. In ancient Persia, they held the power of life and death itself, judging souls at the moment between worlds.
Ancient Persia had dogs that decided who was dead, four-eyed demon-hunting hounds that could literally see your soul leaving your body. This is Sagdid, dogs judging the dead, and it gets insane. You die in ancient Persia. Immediately, invisible demons called Druj swarm your corpse like maggots on roadkill. They're not waiting, they're not polite, they want your soul, and they want it now. According to the Avesta, Zoroastrian holy texts, these corpse demons descend the instant your heart stops. They possess the flesh, corrupt the spirit, and drag your consciousness into eternal darkness. Traditional prayers, useless. Holy water, pathetic. Incense, the demons laugh at your smoke. But the Persians discovered something incredible, something that made demons flee in terror. Dogs, but not just any dogs, four-eyed hounds, with tan or pale spots above their regular eyes. These markings weren't cute genetic quirks, they were supernatural radar systems. The Zoroastrians believed these extra eyes granted vision beyond the mortal veil. 2 eyes for our world, 2 eyes for the demon realm. The ritual was brutal in its simplicity. Corpse placed on stone slab. Family steps back in silence, four-eyed hound approaches the body. If it stares down the corpse without flinching, demons burn away like acid on flesh. Soul escapes free to judgment. But if the animal turns away, whimpers, refuses to look, game over. The demons already claimed their prize. And here's where your brain is about to absolutely explode, because sometimes these hounds would do something else entirely that changed everything.
The four-eyed hound approaches the wrapped corpse, sniffs once, twice, then its tail starts wagging. It licks the dead person's face. The family gasps, because these ancient Persians accidentally created the world's first living medical scanner with 4 legs and a wet nose. Canines detect heartbeats so faint human ears miss them completely. They smell chemical changes between true death and unconsciousness. They sense body heat, muscle tension, the microscopic difference between a coma and an actual corpse. Picture this nightmare scenario. You're dead, wrapped in burial linens, family sobbing over your body, nephew already dividing your property, and suddenly you're coughing, gasping, clawing your way out of funeral shrouds. The hound is wagging like it just saved the universe. Historical records confirm this happened repeatedly. The Bundahishan describes a wealthy merchant who returned from Shadow's realm when the sacred animal refused to let priests continue the ceremony. The hound allegedly pulled at his burial wrappings until his chest started rising and falling again. Imagine the chaos. Mourners screaming, priests dropping their ritual implements, the dead man sitting up asking why everyone looks so pale. But here's the absolute nightmare that kept Persian families awake at night. What if you brought the wrong hound? What if your eternal soul depended on the village's laziest, most distracted mutt? Your afterlife hanging in the balance because Spot would rather chase butterflies than battle demons from hell. The priests went absolutely insane with backup protocols. Multiple hounds when available, extended observation periods where the animals had to maintain eye contact for specific durations, special prayers to enhance the creature's spiritual vision, sacred oils applied to their foreheads to sharpen their demon detection abilities. Because in Zoroastrian cosmology, these weren't pets, they were divine special forces. The Avesta declares that killing a hound brings identical punishment to murdering a human being. Dog abuse was literally a capital crime, punishable by death. These animals were companions of Ahura Mazda himself, the supreme deity of light and truth. They served as guardians of the Chinvat Bridge, the narrow span where souls face final judgment after death. They were protectors against Ahriman, the destructive spirit of absolute darkness who seeks to devour all creation. Sagdid represented the peak of this cosmic significance. The hound's gaze wasn't mere observation, it was divine intervention channeled through 4 eyes. Every ceremony was an invisible battle between forces of light and shadow, with human souls as the ultimate prize.
The animal was literally channeling the power of gods to fight demons for your eternal essence. But this divine status would eventually become the ritual's absolute death sentence.
Islamic armies obliterate Persia, 7th century CE. New theological rules sweep across the empire like wildfire. Canines, revered in Zoroastrianism as divine protectors, are now considered ritually unclean in Islamic tradition. The idea of bringing a hound near a deceased body, inside family homes, near sacred funeral prayers, not just wrong, blasphemous, punishable by imprisonment, exile, or worse. Zoroastrian families face an impossible choice that tears communities apart: abandon their ancient protection against demonic possession or risk brutal persecution for practicing their most sacred death rite. Some continue Sagdid in absolute secrecy, hiding in remote villages, performing ceremonies by moonlight with trusted hounds. Others desperately modify the ritual, keeping the animals at greater distances, reducing physical contact, hoping weakened protection is better than none. Many simply stop entirely, trusting their loved ones' souls to prayers alone against the demon hordes. Picture the heartbreak. The last elderly priest, clutching his four-eyed companion that saved dozens of souls, watching centuries of tradition dissolve into historical footnotes. The hounds that once battled cosmic evil for human spirits were now forbidden from even approaching the dying. Generations of accumulated wisdom about life, death, and the thin boundary between them, erased by political conquest. But here's what will absolutely obliterate everything you thought you knew about this story.
Modern medicine proves the ancient Persians were 100% correct. Canines detect epileptic seizures minutes before they happen. They smell cancer cells in human breath samples with 97% accuracy. They identify diabetic emergencies, heart attacks, and strokes through scent molecules humans can't even perceive. Their ability to sense life signs was never mystical nonsense. It was advanced science disguised as religion. Those four-eyed markings the Persians specifically sought, they frequently appear on breeds with enhanced sensory capabilities: German Shepherds, Rottweilers, Dobermans, Belgian Malinois, animals literally bred for protection, detection, and life-saving work. What if Sagdid was humanity's first emergency medical protocol wrapped in religious ceremony? What if those demon-hunting hounds were actually coma-detecting physicians with diagnostic equipment superior to any human doctor for the next 1400 years? The Persians claimed their animals could see demons stealing souls. Maybe they were absolutely right. If you define demons as the invisible physiological processes that claim life before anyone realizes death hasn't actually occurred. They weren't fighting supernatural entities. They were fighting premature burial with the most sophisticated detection system available in the ancient world.
Last recorded Sagdid ceremony. Rural Iran, 1963. Elderly Zoroastrian woman dies peacefully in her sleep. Her family, following half-remembered ancestral traditions, brings their German Shepherd to her bedside for the ancient rite. The animal stares intensely for several minutes, then gently places its paw on her motionless chest. She never awakened, but every witness swore the room's atmosphere transformed afterward. Peaceful, protected, like something malevolent had been banished forever from their presence. Whether you believe in demons or medical miracles, those ancient Persians understood something we've completely forgotten. The boundary between life and death is thinner than a razor's edge, and sometimes the clearest vision comes from eyes we never expected to trust.
These four-eyed guardians didn't just protect Persian homes, they protected the doorway between worlds, the last witnesses as souls departed, the first hope when souls weren't ready to leave.
Could you survive the Persian death ritual? Would the sacred dogs judge your soul worthy? Let me know what you think. So far, we've witnessed dogs who could heal the dying and judge the dead. But the greatest warriors are still to come, and one of them isn't even real. While Persians used dogs to judge the dead, Romans turned them into weapons of war. What they created would terrorize the ancient world.
Rome had iron-disciplined legionaries and emperors with gold-plated egos. Yet some nights the most useful soldier wore a spiked collar and padded on four paws. Meet the Roman war dog, the furry alarm that could ruin a midnight ambush before it began. Picture this. You creep through frontier scrub, heart punching at your ribs. A twig snaps. Somewhere in the dark, a mastiff inhales, rumbles, and the camp wakes like a kicked beehive. Welcome to the most underappreciated deterrent in ancient war. You'll discover which breed could take down a wild boar, the shocking truth about fire dogs, and why one handler's midnight decision saved an entire garrison from massacre. So, which dogs could factually kill you? Rome prized big, confident guardians. They imported heavy Molossian hounds from Epirus and boarhounds from Celtic lands, then bred local mastiff types Romans later called pugnaces. Big heads, deep chests, calm until it mattered. If your job is guarding a farm from wolves and a granary by day, you get very good at noticing trouble before people do. Farm gurus like Varro and Columella recommend serious guard dogs with cropped ears, big jaws, and spiked collars to stop wolves from getting a throat hold. Hunters praise dogs that do not panic around tusks. This is not cosplay, it is practical hardware for a dangerous world. Now to the field. Picture a Roman marching camp, ditches, stakes, tents in rows, night watch rotations. Add dogs along the perimeter, noses sampling the wind for strangers, horses, smoke, and human sweat. Dogs are living sensors. They catch what sentries miss. That is their superpower. When people say Roman war dogs, they imagine a canine phalanx charging in formation. That is hilarious and wrong. Rome already had the perfect shock troop called the legionary. Dogs were not line soldiers. They were force multipliers, sentries, patrol partners, living alarms that could hear death approaching from a mile away. But here's what nobody tells you about the real combat. Did they ever fight? Sometimes. In siege chaos or street fighting, handlers might slip the leash. A big, trained dog hitting at knee height can break rhythm and morale. Not against a full cohort, but against small groups or fleeing enemies, it gets ugly. Think of it as tactical harassment that buys Rome a better engagement. Now here's the myth that refuses to die and why it's completely backwards. Let us puncture a myth. You will hear about fire dogs with burning pots strapped on. Sparky the Molossian did not do that as a rule. Fire in a camp is a great way to burn your own army. What shows up in repeatable notes is spiked collars, leather protection, and controlled releases in specific moments. Less spectacular, more useful. But the role everyone forgets, it kept entire armies fed. Here is the role people forget. Logistics. Dogs guarded supply dumps where thieves tested fences at night. In long columns, they moved with wagons and mules as early warning systems. On boats, they were watchdogs and rat control. Armies travel on their stomach. Dogs help keep the stomach from being stolen. The proof? It's literally written in stone. Receipts? The Roman world is full of them. The cave Carnem mosaic at Pompeii, inscribed collars that read, "Hold me, lest I flee." Poets bragging about Molossians, farmers writing manuals that read like gear reviews. Rome did not invent military dogs, but it scaled the habit across farms, villas, forts, and frontier towns. But beyond war, these dogs changed Roman hearts in ways you wouldn't expect. Camp life with dogs is pure morale.
A guardian becomes a foot warmer under a cloak and a vacuum near the cook tent. Soldiers sneak scraps. The centurion pretends to be stern, then scratches ears when nobody looks. A wagging tail after a frozen watch lifts spirits like nothing else. Armies win with logistics, sure, but they march better with companionship. And when the crisis came, one dog's split-second decision would prove this bond meant everything. Identification mattered. Some collars carried the dog's name and owner details, warnings like, "Hold me lest I flee." Think of it as an ancient microchip. Some handlers tied bells to make sneaking harder for thieves. Practical, cheap, and charming. How do you train a war dog? Keep it simple. Start with obedience. Reward calm around noise. Walk the perimeter at dusk so the dog memorizes the camp. Pair the animal with one handler, then introduce the squad. If the dog treats the squad like family, it treats strangers like problems. Now meet the dog that saved a garrison. Meet Barcus Maximus, massive brindle guardian at a cold frontier fort. His handler speaks softly in a language older than Latin. A week of false alarms has drained the garrison. Wind cuts through cloak and nerve. Past midnight, the wind shifts. Barcus lifts his head, ears forward, a low growl building. 10 heartbeats later, the handler hears it too, the near-silent rhythm of careful feet on gravel outside the ditch. He taps the hornman, who keeps it ready without sounding. The patrol waits. Raiders expect sleeping Romans. They get a dog pacing the wall, inhaling, mapping the dark. The first ladder rises. Barcus barks like a thrown shield. Horns answer. Javelins arc into torchlight. The first raider drops the ladder. The second never starts to climb. The plan melts. At dawn, the centurion counts ladders, praises the handler, and gives Barcus meat plus the softest sheepskin. The garrison relaxes 2 notches. That is the point. Dogs do not just bite. They change behavior before anyone has to. Deterrence with teeth. This success spawned a trade that amazed even Romans. Ancient writers note British dogs sold abroad for raw power. Traders shipped them because people paid premium prices for muscle with a bark. Rome acquired whatever worked. If a dog could guard, it got a ration. But Rome's genius wasn't just military, it was emotional. Rome loved pets too. Mosaics show lapdogs and inscriptions mourn companions. The same culture that armored big guardians let small dogs sleep on pillows. Practical and soft at once. The gear that kept them alive reveals Rome's brutal practicality. Gear time. Spiked collars stop a throat grab. Thick leather blocks thorns and tusks. Bronze studs add grab protection. Nothing superhero, keep the dog healthy through a long campaign. But their real superpower, it defied physics. How smart were these dogs? Smart enough to learn routes, carry messages, and return under pressure. In sieges, when runners got pinned down, a small steady dog could slip through rubble and trenches faster than a human. If you have tried to catch a determined dog, you know. Good luck, enemy scouts. Rome didn't invent this, but what they did was revolutionary. Context matters. Egyptians kept hunting dogs long before Rome. Greeks praised Laconian hounds. Many armies used dogs. Rome's trick was systematizing. If an idea kept grain moving and camps safe, Rome repeated it on every frontier for generations. Habits become doctrine. And sometimes that doctrine got weird. Ever wonder if they weaponized barking itself? Curiosity hook. Enemies used squealing pigs to spook elephants. Did anyone weaponize barking for that? Probably not beyond chaos. But the Romans definitely weaponized sound at night. A choir of dogs around a fort is an alarm clock nobody sleeps through. The ending? It's still happening today. Legacy. After the empire fell, big guardian dogs lived on in farmsteads and castles. Centuries later, militaries formalized canine units for sentry duty, tracking, and detection. Technology changes. Noses still win. The Roman recipe survives. If dogs at war make you uneasy, it should. Many handlers treated them as partners. Respect shows in inscriptions. The best results came from trust. Before we wrap, 2 quick tips from Roman farm nerds.
Feed for brains, not bulk. Walk the perimeter together at dusk so the routine sticks. Question. You're a night raider hearing that first warning growl. Do you push your luck or melt into the dark and try again next year? Tell me in the comments and drop your best dog name for a Roman fort. Try to beat Barcus Maximus.
We're halfway through this epic journey. Hit that like button if you're enjoying these incredible stories.
From healers to judges to Roman war machines, these dogs shaped history. But wait until you see the giants that made even Romans flee in terror. Rome's legendary war dogs met their match when they faced the giants of the north. Hounds bred for size, strength, and ferocity. Rome conquered everything, until they met these furry beasts. What you're about to see broke the most disciplined army in history, and it wasn't human. I'm going to show you the weapon so terrifying Rome tried to erase it from existence. But first, you need to understand what pure, weaponized loyalty looks like. You are a Roman legionary. Your world is steel, leather, and the man to your left. You are the unstoppable force that has conquered the known world. Fear is a luxury you cannot afford. But today, you feel it, cold in your gut. It's not the painted warriors screaming in the distance. It's not the chariots. It's a sound beneath the chaos, a low, guttural thunder that makes the ground itself feel alive. They weren't just dogs. They were 200-pound guided missiles with one target, your throat. Then, through the mist, you see them, and your training, your discipline, your courage, it all evaporates. They are nightmares given flesh. Beasts the size of wolves, but thicker, stronger, moving with a predator's purpose. Their eyes glow with a fury that isn't animal, it's personal. This was the weapon the Celts unleashed upon the legions, and the story Rome told of that weapon was a lie. The truth was far worse. But here's what nobody tells you about the training method that created these killers. The Celts. To Rome, they were savages, wild men from the misty north. But their reputation for ferocity wasn't just their own. It was built on the bond they shared with something truly monstrous. Picture this. You're in a shield wall. 200 men shoulder to shoulder. You've trained for this. Then 50 of these beasts hit your line at 35 miles per hour. Game over. Roman scribes, the men who wrote history, tried to describe these beasts. They used words like colossal, unstoppable. They painted a picture of mindless, savage animals. But what if that was a lie to hide a deeper fear? What if the Romans were so terrified they had to pretend these were just beasts because the truth was something they couldn't comprehend? The Celts didn't just breed big dogs. They bred apex predators. These weren't pets. They were four-legged weapons that could take down a horse and rider in seconds. To find that truth, we have to forget what the Romans told us. We have to look at the legends the Celts told themselves. They didn't speak of one single monster. They spoke of 3 nightmares. Think of them as the Navy SEALs, Green Berets, and Delta Force of the dog world. There was the great Hound of Ireland, a creature that walked beside kings, its shadow a promise of death to their enemies. So legendary, a single hound was considered a gift worthy of an emperor. There was the Ghost of the Highlands, a blur of grey fury that moved like the wind, running down horsemen as if they were standing still. Not a dog, but a living spear. And there was the Wall Breaker, a dog bred not for speed, but for unstoppable force. A living battering ram sent to shatter the shield walls that had conquered nations.
Imagine a German shepherd. Now double it. Now give it the bite force of a lion and the loyalty of your best friend when his back's against the wall. These were the Celtic war dogs. But they weren't just bred, they were raised. And that is the secret Rome never understood. The Romans had a name for what happened next. They called it the breaking. But that's not the worst part.
To Rome, a dog of war was a tool. It was chained, starved, and beaten to make it vicious. It was a disposable weapon. But to the Celts, this beast was family. It slept by their fire. It guarded their children. It hunted with them, ate with them, and listened to their stories whispered in the dark. Its name was sung in their songs. A dog trained with cruelty fights out of fear. But a dog that has been loved, a dog that is part of a family, it fights with a loyalty so fierce it becomes something divine. It will not just fight for you, it will die for you. Wait until you see what happened to the bloodline. The answer will make you look at every large dog differently. It's a bond that echoes through time. If you've ever looked into your dog's eyes and seen more than just a pet, if you've seen a protector, a friend, a soul, then you know a shadow of this connection. Drop your guess in the comments about which modern breed you think carries this killer DNA. This profound love is what the Celts turned into a weapon, and it was devastating.
So how did it feel to stand against it? The horns sound, but it's not the screams of men you hear first. It's the howl, a chorus from the depths of hell. They don't charge in a straight line. They flow across the battlefield like a river of death. Before the Celtic warriors even reach you, the dogs are upon you. They don't aim for your throat. They aim to break your spirit. A 200-pound beast slams into your shield, shattering your arm and your confidence. Another tears through the line, hamstringing horses, turning a cavalry charge into a screaming, bloody mess. They create chaos. They create terror. They turn a disciplined legion into a panicked mob. If you had to rank ancient weapons by pure terror factor, catapults, scary. War elephants, terrifying. Celtic war dogs, absolutely nightmare fuel. They are not trying to win the battle. They are trying to break your mind before the battle has even begun. They are psychological warfare in its purest, most primal form. And here's the kicker. One of these breeds still exists today. You've probably seen one. You just didn't know you were looking at a Roman legion killer.
The Roman Empire rose and fell. The age of Celtic warriors faded into mist and memory. But the legacy of their companions never died. In a final, beautiful irony, the world forgot their terror, but remembered their heart. The great hound of Ireland, the killer of men, became known as the gentle giant. Its ferocity was replaced by a legendary nobility. Its spirit wasn't broken. It was finally understood.
Celtic Warhounds versus Roman Molossians. Who wins? Cast your vote in the comments. We've seen the sacred, the supernatural, and the savage. But the most legendary dog of all guards a realm no living soul should enter. One last legend awaits, the most terrifying dog that never lived, and the hero brave enough to face it in the realm of the dead. Are you ready for the guardian of hell? Hit that like button if you're still with me.
If you've made it this far, you're a true seeker of ancient knowledge. Subscribe and ring that bell. There are more chronicles waiting to be revealed.
You think the gates of hell are just some old campfire story? Wrong. This three-headed beast terrorized gods and mortals for over 3,000 years, until one absolute legend choked him out with his bare hands and dragged death's snarling gatekeeper into the blazing daylight. What happened next? It smashed every rule in the ancient world to pieces, and I'm about to blow your mind with how this hero pulled off the impossible. Buckle up, this is gonna be wild. All right, let's get real. Here's the truth they don't teach in boring history class. Picture ancient Greece. Gods playing chess with human souls, monsters like Cerberus enforcing their iron grip. Born from the wildest power couple ever, Typhon, the storm giant who nearly sent Zeus running, and Echidna, half woman, half serpent queen of nightmares. This wasn't some cute puppy. Cerberus was built for pure chaos. Snakes twisting out of his mane like living whips. A serpent tail striking faster than a lightning bolt. Lion claws that could shred your soul to bits. And heads? 3. Some myths say 50. Others scream 100. Each one chomping with fangs dripping pure terror.
But here's the gut punch. Cerberus was born in chains, dropped at Hades' front door like a guard dog on a leash. His only job? Keep the dead locked in, the living locked out, serving the death god forever. No freedom, no choice, just eternal grind for the system. One slip up and boom, total world-ending chaos. His family, a straight-up monster squad. Earthrus, the two-headed terror, Hydra regrowing heads like it's nothing, Chimera spitting fire from its lion-goat-snake combo, Sphinx eating fools who flunked her riddles, Nemenian lion, skin tougher than steel, all built to guard the gods' dirty secrets. But Cerberus, he landed the big gig, eternity's prison warden. One mistake, game over for the world. Born screwed, but man, he owned it. Now here's where it gets insane. Cerberus is ruling his turf like the ultimate beast when, boom, Heracles storms in. This demigod, jacked and fearless, hits his 12th impossible labor. Snag the hellhound alive. Oh, and the kicker? No weapons, just pure grit. Picture this epic showdown. Heracles rolls up, draped in the Nemean lion's hide, tougher than a tank, his own trophy, and faces this snarling nightmare. Cerberus goes wild, head snapping like angry vipers, snakes hissing, tail whipping for the kill. But Heracles, cool as ice. He weaves through the venom, ducks those chomping jaws, and locks those necks in a chokehold that'd make wrestlers cry for mercy. No sword, no club, just raw, unstoppable strength, crushing death's windpipe. I'm losing it just thinking about this. Yo, if you're hyped by this legendary takedown, smash that like button now. Hit it hard like you're taking down your own demons. It gets crazier from here. The result? Cerberus, the so-called unbeatable terror, gets dragged, kicking and howling out of the underworld into the sunlight. Death's top dog, paraded like a prize. That's how you flip the script and break the gods' rules.
Hold up. Before we dive into how this beast owned his reign, you gotta feel the sheer scale of his terrifying legend. Post-setup, Cerberus cranks it to 11, pure terror machine. Those heads, not just scary, they're a 360-degree lockdown, catching every soul trying to sneak past. Snakes in the mane? Extra eyes and lightning-fast strikes like a living trap. Claws ripping through intruders, tail swinging poison like a backup blade. The stats? Over 3,000 years of myth, only 3 ever got past him. Orpheus, charming him with a harp melody, who knew he had a soft spot? The Cumaean Sibyl, slipping him a honey cake laced with ancient magic. And Heracles, obviously. That's it. Billions of dead souls stayed locked tight. Escape plans? Crushed. Heroes? Sent running, tails tucked. Cerberus wasn't just a guard, he was the system. Ruthless, flawless. keeping Hades's empire untouchable. He rewrote Death's rulebook. Real power's not on the throne, it's the jaws at the gate. Stop everything. That chokehold? Heracles had one final trick that left Cerberus screaming in defeat. You won't believe this. Every empire faces its final fight. Here's the ultimate showdown. Cerberus versus Heracles, the clash that burned their names into eternity. Heracles, driven by King Eurystheus under Hera's nasty curse, storms Hell's gates. Cerberus, sworn to Hades, can't back down. He's the rock against the tidal wave. The battle? Pure mayhem. Heads snapping in sync, claws slashing that unbreakable lion skin, venom flying, tail thrashing like a whip. Cerberus fights like a beast unleashed, every inch a weapon. But Heracles, fueled by divine fire, he wraps those massive arms around all the necks at once. The genius move turns Cerberus's multi-head chaos against him, squeeze them together, no air, no escape, total shutdown. Hauled into the sunlight, broken and howling, Cerberus sees daylight for the first time. Hades signs off, but the legend explodes. Death's top enforcer, humbled. Duty versus destiny? Destiny wins, hands down.
Whoa! Imagine Cerberus loose today, guarding your goals or tearing them apart. Kinda shakes you up, right? This isn't just ancient history, it's your life staring back. You've got your own three-headed monsters, fear, doubt, that voice saying, stay small. They've been locking down your dreams, chaining you to your own underworld. But Heracles cracked the code. Those beasts only have power because you let them. One fearless moment of defiance, and boom! You're dragging your demons into the light, where they burn out. Cerberus was the system's ultimate guard dog, built to be unbreakable. But raw will smashed him. Your limits? Total lies. Your obstacles? Just waiting for you to grab 'em by the throat. He was the god's fist against chaos, but Heracles proved one bold soul can break any chain, own any beast. If a three-headed hellhound can be tamed, what's really stopping you?
From the healing temples of ancient Mesopotamia to the mythical gates of hell, we've journeyed through 5,000 years of legendary dogs. The sacred Gula dogs, who healed with their touch. The Persian Sagdid, who judged souls between life and death. The Roman Molossians, who conquered empires. The Celtic giants, who defied Rome itself. And Cerberus, the three-headed guardian of the Underworld. These are more than just stories. They're testament to the eternal bond between human and hound, warrior and companion, mortal and legend. Which of these legendary dogs would you trust by your side? The healer, the judge, the warrior, the giant, or the guardian of hell itself? Let me know in the comments below. I am the ancient witness, keeper of forgotten chronicles.
If you want to uncover more legends buried by history, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We have so many more stories that will blow your mind. Thanks for watching.